to elect a new mayor. The contest. Ravi Joshi is a visiting fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. It's a day in the US. New York City is
in the world. So it's a very significant amount of money that this mayor will be handling, and he is already promised to use it for the welfare of the citizens of New York, like thousands of taxi drivers. He's going to introduce an insurance scheme for them, and he is also introducing, childcare and student welfare measures. With this, Democratic Party is now taking a swing towards left of center, and he's positioning himself as a democratic socialist candidate.
Right.
Which Trump is repeatedly calling him as a commie. He is not a communist, but he is a democratic socialist, and he has clarified this several times. A socialist is one who will distribute the wealth equitably and to ensure greater welfare measures. He is not going to control the means of production of wealth. He is not going to be a communist like that, and that kind of communism is dead. And to call him a communist is absolutely a canard, which is to basically put fear in the minds of the rich and the wealthy in New York City. So the social media is full of both anti and pro Mamdani trend.
Indeed.
Yes, but right now the trends are Mamdani is heading for a victory.
Indeed. Now, besides being the first Muslim and the youngest mayor of New York City, Mamdani could also become the first Indian origin mayor of the city. Mr. Joshi, how has Mamdani's Indian heritage or ethnicity influenced his campaign? Is it a factor at all? And how does that play into an anti-immigrant sentiment that's sweeping the US?
Yes, Mamdani is partly Indian because his mother Meera Nair is an Indian. Okay, his father is born in he was born in Kampala himself. His father is Mahmood Mamdani, is from Uganda. He's a professor at Cornell University. So that Indian trait is very much there, and the most important thing, as you rightly said, he is an immigrant. And now, in the time of such anti-immigrant outrage by the Republican Party, and particularly fueled by Trump, who has been sending National Guards to round up the immigrants in California or in Portland or various other cities. Mind you, this has led to a serious backlash in so many cities across the United States. In about 70 cities across the United States, hundreds of thousands of people have protested against these measures by Trump, authoritarian measures by Trump. So to say that there is an anti-immigrant wave, which was fueled by the Republican Party, the so-called white rural rage was basically anti-immigrant. But I have seen the reality. The same white rural population cannot do without immigrant workers. Whether it is in the Californian, wine farming or various kinds of agricultural activity, it is immigrant labor who is always employed. And by throwing them out, it is seriously affecting the economy already.
Right.
So it is not a very, very wise thing that Trump is doing, but this is an emotional issue on which he has come to power. So he will continue that.
Talking of Trump, Mr. Joshi, President Trump has threatened to hold back US government funds to New York City if Mamdani wins the election. Is that just election rhetoric? Do you think he will do it? And isn't he a native of New York City, Trump?
Yes, of course. Trump is very much a product of New York City, and Mamdani makes a repeated indication of that, reminds the people of New York that Trump is from your city, and so they should remember that this Frankenstein was actually created by the New York City itself. And now about the cutting down the funds for New York City, Trump has repeatedly said that, and he is likely to do it. He has done it on so many of his irrational statements. He has actually done it. He has he has sent National Guards where they were not required to go, against the state governments and the state governors' resistance. He has done all that. So he is likely to cut the New York City funding to the bare minimum. But the New York City, if Mamdani succeeds in winning the election, and if he puts 2% taxes on or the millionaires of New York, he will be sufficiently well funded in carrying out his socialist agenda. So I don't think there will be any serious threat to that.
Okay, fair enough. Now, the elections take place on a day, Mr. Joshi, when the US government shutdown completes 35 days. Now, if the shutdown continues into Wednesday, it'll become the longest ever in US history. Would the shutdown influence voters in Tuesday's elections, you think?
Yes, I'm sure it would influence voters because this shutdown has already laid off hundreds of thousands of people who are on the central government, union government's payrolls. They have lost their salaries. And so there's a serious amount of distress that this shutdown is causing. And I'm sure there are thousands of employees of the union government working in New York City as well who are affected by this. And this is also affecting the small scale industries who depend upon the government funding. So there's a great upheaval because of this longest period of shutdown by the union government. And of course, the Democrats have taken a very strong stand in order to get Trump back to implementing Obamacare,
right,
and medical aid for the poor. So it is actually the Democrats are pushing back against Trump's outrageous anti-poor, anti-people measures.
Indeed.
And they're forcing him to come back to the socialist measures which were promised and which were implemented by President Obama.
And if I may remind our viewers, Mr. Joshi, the last time the US government shut down for 35 days was during President Trump's first term in office in late 2018 and early 2019. The quarrel then was over President Trump's demand for a border wall, which the Democrats refused to fund. The quarrel this time around is over the expiring subsidies, as you said, for the Affordable Care Act. The Democrats want President Trump to extend Obamacare subsidies before agreeing to open the government. Now, my question to you is the following. Is the onus of breaking the deadlock on the Republican or Democratic Party or both? Shouldn't the buck stop with the Trump government?
Of course. The buck should always stop with the president. The president has to take the decision. And this kind of President Trump has been very, very obstinate and stubborn in sticking to his stands, however irrational they are. So this has led to so much of tension between the federal government and the states already. And this has led to serious tension within the administrative system, where thousands of people have lost their jobs, and they were unable to fulfill the social welfare measures which the federal government had taken up because of the loss of jobs.
Right.
And finally, the buck, as you rightly say, has to stop with President Trump, and he has to make compromises. There has to be some kind of negotiated settlement on this, because I don't see Trump yielding on Obamacare, but he has to make some kind of settlement. Otherwise, this kind of a deadlock will continue with no easy end in sight.
All right, we'll leave it there for now, Mr. Joshi. Thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts and perspectives with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time.